And I'm going to create a new document here real quick. And you can just watch me do this part. This isn't going to be our format that we're going to work with. But I just real quick want to make a 8.5 by 11 document. I'm not going to worry about most of the rest of the stuff. And then I'm going to save this file. Save it as just a quick demo. And we'll save that. So it saves it as a .indd file. When, and we don't have this other file format right at this type, but it is here, right at this point, but it is here in those things, those assets that I gave you to download. InDesign is susceptible to updates and upgrades from the standpoint of, if I've got a version of a file that's too old, newer versions sometimes won't open it. Which is, you know, we really don't have that problem with Photoshop. We don't have it with Illustrator files, but InDesign we do. Or A, that, or B, a lot of times InDesign files need to be swapped between PCs and Macs. So there is a second file format called an IDML, and in general, it's a file format that you can save separately. But when I show you how to collect the project for output, it's actually made with that collect for output process. Basically what an IDML file becomes is a backwards compatible file. So if somebody's on a PC with an older version of InDesign, they still should be able to open your InDesign file. So, and that happens quite a bit. InDesign files will go to service bureaus or somebody to print, and they'll have an older version of InDesign. That IDML file is a file format they'll be able to open. It's just basically a backwards compatible kind of a thing. So I think I put it in here because pretty much anybody will be able to open that if they need to. But just kind of keep in mind there are technically two different formats. The .indd file is the one we're working with on a daily basis. So if you ever see a .idml file, just know that that's an After Effects or an InDesign file. And if I open that up, this file actually kind of represents the document that we're going to put together. So it's not really a cheat document, it's much more of a reference document. And I didn't know how long I'd be using this particular file technically, so I set it up this way. But anyway, having said that, I'm going to leave that file open. I'm going to get rid of that demo file I just did. So let's create a document. The files that you downloaded and the link that's there for copy. The copy is this Empirico document, and basically it's this is an old job that I did several years ago. It was like a 128-page book, which we're not going to do 128 pages, but it was a 128-page book. It's an environmental sustainability document that big corporations do annual reports. They also do ESGs, which are their environmental impact statement to their shareholders and that kind of thing. It became kind of a big thing that most corporations do right alongside of their annual reports every year. Almost more important than annual reports. But that's what an ESG, is. So, but anyway, this document's really kind of marked out. Front cover, we're going to decide what to put on the front cover. But every single bit of it's listed out here. We've got our letter to the CEO letter, which is going to go on the inside of our front cover. We've got a table of contents, will be page 3. Page 4 is going to be this copy. Page 5 will be this copy. 6, and so on and so forth. So I provide you the doc so we've got something legitimate to work with, and we're all kind of working on the same thing. So this is what we're going to use. Before I do too much of that, though, that's going to be one of our more important documents. I just forgot the next thing. I know. Go back over here into these assets. There's a logo pack. If I open up this Empirico logo pack, it's an Illustrator file. We'll open it up. It is a document with multiple versions of that logo file in it. And we're going to be able to import this file and select only the logos that we want. And then that was pretty much it. It's a nice, simple little document. So, and then there's a, that's from the download. So, anyway, those are the items we have. So, this is the document that we're going to create, and what we're going to kind of focus on today. I want to hopefully get through the parent pages of this. This is more complicated than what we're going to do. We're not going to initially set up parent pages that are quite like this, but just to show you the power of parent pages, I've got all the content on all these pages right now are simply fed off of the parent pages. And notice that they've all got different colors on the headers because each of these sections is color-coded. There's a lot of common content, but there's some of it that varies as well. So basically the gray color is our overview section, and if you notice, there's a little notch taken out of each section. Green is our environmental section, blue is our sustainability, and dark blue is our governance section. So they're all different parent pages that are created, and we use the appropriate parent page for the appropriate section. So if I open up my pages panel here, and let's see, can I open this up? And parent pages. Under panel options for parents, I'm going to increase my, so these are too small. I really can't see anything or tell anything. So I'm going to go to this little hamburger menu that's right in the corner of the panel, go down to the very bottom, panel options, and at the top, or second item down are parents, and right now that icon's set to small. If I move that to large and say okay, I get a bigger view of my parent pages. And I can scroll through them. So we're going to set up parent pages for these different sections. All right? So that's the first thing that we're going to do. So I'm just going to close this out. And we're going to create a new document because we're going to do all of these. So create a new document. That is, I'm going to switch it over to inches. And this is going to be a landscape format book. So it's going to be 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. And we're going to start it off with, like, under pages, let's start off with 12 pages. We're going to need more than that, but that'll give us a good set of pages to work with. It's a divisor of 4, so it'll work out in our signatures, for print signatures. Make sure facing pages is checked right here. Facing pages should be checked. And then we're just going to leave the margins at 1/2 inch. Let's make our columns. Let's make this 3 columns. 3 columns with we'll leave the default gutter to 1.667. We can change that if we want, but I'll just pick up the defaults for the most part. And then we are going to have color and images that run off the edges of the page. So we need to make sure that we set our bleed. So down here under bleed and slug, we're just going to set to 0.125. Set our bleed edges to 1.125. You can get away without actually setting the bleed and still have stuff come off your page, but it becomes easier when we go to create PDF files of this document later on. The settings that we put in here will take care of our PDF settings for us. We don't have to specify them. So, plus, I think it's always good to have that guide in there, because one of the things we're always working towards is creating neat, clean, organized documents. That's the sign of, of a document that's professionally built. So having all these kinds of things in here to sort of work to is important. So 11 by 8.5, 12 pages, facing pages, 3 columns, 1/2 inch margin is fine, and 0.125 on the bleed, which is 1/8 of an inch. So if we've got all of that, just say create. And then if you open your pages panel, you should see basically what I have here. We all got the same thing? Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to make the thumbnails bigger, go to this little hamburger menu up here in the corner, click on that, and all the way down here at the bottom is panel options. At the very top, you can set the thumbnail size for the pages. At the right beneath that, you can set the thumbnail size for the parents. So I'm going to set maybe I'll set my page sizes to large and my parents to extra large for right now, since that's what I'm going to be working mostly with. The rest of these, we can change the order. We can put the parent pages on top, or we can put them on the bottom. I mean, I leave them to the top by the default. And the icons, we can leave all that alone. So, but we'll just sort of adjust those, say okay. There we go. So one of the things that's really kind of nice about InDesign is that anytime I build a parent page, or later on when I'm building style sheets, different paragraph styles for the copy in my document, I can create a basic, and we're going to be talking about parent pages, so I can create a basic parent page. But then I can base other parent pages off of that one parent page. So what we're going to create here, if I refer back to my document that's set up already, let me close this up. I've got, not only do I have my header content, but I've also got footer content, where I've got my page number, the name of the document on both sides, and a page number. And then I've got this graphic frame in the middle, which I'm always going to be sort of modifying and adjusting. So with all of this in mind, and I'm also going to have different color variations on my headers. So, but the one common element that's going to go through any parent page that I make is going to be that they're going to have this footer content in them. They're all going to have a parent, they're all going to have a page number. They're all going to have the name of the document on it. So what I can do when I set this up is I can create a parent page, and I'll just refer to it as my base parent page, that I'm going to put all my footer content in. Because no matter what the rest of the page looks like, it's always going to have that information. Then when I want to go and create a parent page for, say, my environmental section, and I put that header stuff, I can base it on my base page, which means it'll automatically pick up that layout for the footer content. So it's A, it simplifies the page setup, but B, later on, if I need to go back and make a change to that footer content, say the name of the document changes, I have one place I go to make that change, and it's going to update across all of my other pages. So that's what we're going to do. So we've got, and there's some other things we're going to do here, but we'll kind of do them as we need to do them and go that way. So I'm going to keep my my page footer information down inside of my 1/2-inch page margin. So jumping back over to my document that I have nothing in yet, I'm going to open my Pages panel, and here's this A parent. I am going to, let's just go to this hamburger menu, and let's if I right click on it or command click on this area, I can create a new parent page, a new parent. And when I do that, I'm going to get this little dialog. It's going to be 2 pages. I'm going to base it on, I'm not going to base it on any pages yet. Okay, this is going to be my base parent page. I'm not actually going to use this A at all. So it's 11 by, so it's got all my page settings in there. So I'll just say okay, and it creates this B parent. If I right click on that page, I can go back in. I should have done this initially, but I can go into parent options for B parent. And I'm going to change the prefix. I'm going to change the name from parent to footer parent, so that I know what it is. Just like layers, I'm naming everything that I do. So I'm going to leave the prefix as B, but I could change that if I wanted, but I'm just going to change the name to footer parent and say okay, and it'll pick up that name. All right? Easy enough so far. So let's go and put some content on this parent. So this is going to be, so let's just go look at the bottom of the document. So my footer information is going to go along the bottom. I'm going to put my page number. I'm going to put the name of the document. All right? So if I just, with my B footer, just selecting one of those pages so that that's what I'm working on. I want to make sure I'm working on this parent page. If I'm working on any of these pages down here, this isn't going to work. We want to be working on the parent page. So let's start off by, I'm just going to draw a little text box down here at the bottom, and I'll just make it go across like 2 columns. Just grab your text tool, click and drag out, and I'm going to name this Russ Kern ESG report. Put your own name on it. And some of the things we're going to do here, I'm just going to kind of tell you what to do, but I also need to pick a typeface for this. So I'm just going to use, if I go to my character panel, I'm using my Essentials Classic page layout, by the way, in case I didn't mention it. Essentials Classic. So if I go down here with my text selected, I'm going to go over here and take a look down here at my character panel. Select it, or click on it, and it'll open. I would just find a typeface that looks nice. Minion Pro is probably fine for what we're going to do. I'm going to pick something like Montserrat because I have it. Pick something that works for you. Montserrat, I'll just make it regular. And then I'm going to reduce its point size. Right now it's 12 points. So again, looking at my type panel, I'm going to reduce my point size from 12 to 10. 9. We'll go down to 9 points. Everybody still with me? Okay. So I've got this copy on my left-hand page, all right? I also need to put a page number with it. So my page number is going to go out here beside the name. I want it to go to the outside corner of the page. So I'm just going to place my cursor out here. Let me zoom in on that. So if I place my cursor right before my name, I'm just going to put a space in. With that cursor there, if I go to my type menu, type, insert special characters, markers, current page number. And when I select that current page number, it's also Option Shift Control New in. So I'm just going to select current page number, and it's going to toss a letter in here that corresponds with my parent page. So it's got a B in it because this is my B, the parent page with the B prefix, so that's what it uses. So there's my page number, and I'm just going to change that to like a bold typeface, something kind of visible that stands out. Maybe extra bold. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of space there, a pipe character, and a little bit of space so that there's a little bit of gap between. I just want a little bit of space between my page number and my footer information. And if I zoom back on that, I should have something that looks somewhat like that. And I do kind of like to keep all of this stuff inside of my initial margins, so I'm just going to bump it down and make sure that my baseline of the type sits right on my margin line. Little details like this don't matter so much, but I think it's neater, more organized, better look. So, and I'm actually going to change the position of my margin line here before I'm done, but my bottom margin anyway. Everyone still with me? All right. So now something else I want to point out. And this is a little less important than other things, but it's good to know. If I go, so right now, this is, my text is flush left within this text area, which is putting it, saying it out here against my left-hand margin. If I go under my paragraph panel, and take a look, there are a whole boatload of different alignment options. The ones I want to mention here real quick are these two at the very end. So I've got a left alignment, center, a right alignment, justify with the last line aligned left, justify with the last line aligned center, justify with the last line aligned to the right, full justified, and then these two out here at the end with the little line, vertical line next to them. That vertical line represents the spine of the document. The spine of the document is also referred to as the gutter, or the document gutter. That's where the two pages come together. So right here where page 2 and page 3, or the right and the left page come together, this is the gutter, and that's what that represents. So if I click on this one, and we're not really going to notice a difference, but if I click on the one that says align towards spine, actually we do notice a difference because it pulled all of my type in as close to the spine as that text area would let it go. The other one is align away from the spine. I'm going to click on that one, and it's going to put it back to where I had it before. That's the one I want. I can do left align and I can do right align. There's no right or wrong here, but it's a handy little alignment option to know. So where that really matters though is, let's close that up. Remember, I've got a footer on both pages, right? So if I copy this, select this text area with my selection tool, copy it, Command C, come over here to this page and paste it, look where I put my text, all the way out to the right-hand edge. So now I just kind of move it down into place, zoom in. But because I set that alignment to align away from the spine, it's putting it on the page where I want it to be. Like I said, I could also just I could have taken the extra step of aligning this, justifying this to the right, but that makes it easy. So it's a neat little alignment option. The only thing this didn't do is I still need to change, I still want my page number to be to the gutter, or to the outside edge. So I'm just gonna copy my page number, or select it, I want to cut it, come over here, put my cursor at the very end of this line, paste that in, and then I just need to put this, I just want to sort of mirror the other page, so cut that, and between this I'm just going to space, a pipe, and space again. So this is my footer parent. It's pretty much all it consists of, at least right at the moment. So what do I do now? I'm going to make my first full parent page. Is everybody with me so far? Knowing what I did? All right. So let's go back to our Pages panel. And let's right-click on it. And let's create a new parent. So this is going to be prefix C. I'm going to change this. This is going to be my overview parent. Because remember, I had sections. I had an overview, environmental, governance, those kinds of things, different sections. So this is going to be my overview parent. And I'm just going to type overview. So remember before when I said that we can base parent pages on other parent pages. I'm going to actually base this on parent B footer, or B footer parent. Everything else will stay the same. And now when I say OK and make this C parent, notice that it has the footer stuff in it that I just created on the other one. So so I'm creating an overview, I'm creating one for environmental, I want to create one for, my other sections. I could use this footer on all of them. And the nice thing is I need to make a change to the footer, change the name of the document, put some more information in it or whatever. I go back to that footer parent, make the change, and it'll apply across all of my pages. So I've done that. And let's go back and take a look real quick at this document. So if I go take a look at my overview, basically all of my other parent pages have a header at the top of it. We're going to keep this simpler than what I've got here, though. We're going to make this a little simpler in nature. So this is kind of far too complicated. So let's go back to our overview parent. And let's just start by creating that gray bar. And I really need more room to work. Let's see. Let's close that panel down. All right. So I'm just going to go over here to my tools on the side and look at my rectangle tool. Grab it. Whoops. Grab my rectangle tool. And I'm just going to draw a bar across the top of this parent page. This is my overview parent page that I'm doing this on. And I'm going to need to adjust it because I didn't pull it off. But I'm going to pull this all the way out to my bleed lines because remember the gray is going to bleed off the edges of the page. So I've got that. And then if I go to my swatches panel, open it up, I'm just going to select black. And I want to give it a tint of 50%. So I get my gray bar. Easy enough so far. Remember, I'm still working on my new overview parent page. That's what I've got selected. So I want to kind of zoom in on this corner now. Because I'm going to have a section of overview pages, I'm going to create a little title or a little text block here and just type overview. Pick a typeface, pick a size, back to my character panel. I'll go back to my Montserrat typeface, do Montserrat extra bold, make it like 16 points. I don't want it to be huge, just kind of big enough to see. Make sure that it's positioned with my margin lines. And I think where does this come down to right now? I want to narrow up my box. It's going to be roughly 3/4 of an inch overall. It's going to be its size. So I did that. Maybe I make my type white. come back over to my swatches panel, click on the T for the text, and make it the color of the paper. And I'll leave it up to you. You want to put it on the other side of the page, go ahead and do that on the right-hand page, or you can just leave it to the left. I'm going to leave mine just on the left-hand page. The color kind of denotes the section, so I'm just going to kind of do that. And that's all the more I'm going to do for the header. I'm not going to do all the other stuff I had in my original document. Too much work, too much time. So we've got that. So if we go back over here to our pages, we should have, so far we've made a base page, which is our footer content, and then we've made our first parent page for our first section based upon that footer content. So in my eagerness to set up a parent page, I forgot to do one kind of important thing that occurs to me. Remember so we've got layers as well to work with. And anytime we put anything on a parent page, it's going to appear in the bottom of our document. Remember, as we put stuff onto the page, it basically layers up. So if I were to take, like, I'm going to come down here to my first pair of pages, and I'm just going to drag my B parent onto it, onto both, or my C parent onto both of them, so that, and replace that parent page. If I go and I draw, let's say I'm going to put a photo over one side of this. If I draw out that box, and for now I'm just going to fill it with a color because it's the easiest thing to do, it's going to cover up everything that's on my parent page. Because by default, all of my items right now are sitting on my only layer, you know? And since my parent page items are locked, I can't move those around. I can't bring them to the front or anything. So I've got to adjust that by doing this. And actually, we're going to do this really simply. It's not such a big deal now that I think about it. I want to delete this for now. Come over here to my layer 1. I've only put parent page content so far on this layer 1. So I'm going to rename this parent page content. And I'm going to lock it. And now I'm going to create another layer and drag it below it. And this will be my, I'll just call this content for now. So now, so you see what I did there? Because all the items that I'd already put down on a page were parent page items, I got away with only renaming that layer and then creating a new layer for all of my additional page content. If I didn't realize this when I did and I started building out other stuff, then I'd really have no choice. I'd have to start copying. It gets kind of confusing when you think about parent layers or parent pages and layers. I'd have to copy all my parent page stuff, move them to another layer, move stuff around, and it kind of gets confusing. So just remember the layers here work the same as they work in Illustrator or anything else. What's on the top always shows up above what's beneath it. So now if I select that content layer, and now if I come down here and I draw a box, fill it with a color, now it's behind all of my parent page content. Did I lose anybody with any of that? Are we still all good? We good? What's that? Redo what I just did? Yeah. How far back? To the layering?
Yeah, just how you got the blue
Oh, how I got the blue box? Oh, the blue box is just a rectangle tool. I just used a rectangle, drew it onto my page, and came over to my swatches panel and just filled it with blue. So we're kind of off into the races. So here's my overview. Let's take a look at the fact that I have a couple other parent pages that I want to make. So if I reopen my parent pages, or reopen my pages in general, so now all of my other ones are going to be just variations on the one I just made, right? So I can either create new parent pages, go through all the steps again, which I can do, or I could take the easy route, select the C overview that I just made. If I right click on it or control click on it, I can duplicate to spread. The first option there is duplicate. Actually, I'm going to open up my parent page panel here a bit. Grab that little light gray bar and you can open that up. Right click on it, duplicate it. This is my D parent. And if I right click on that, go into my parent options for D parent, leave it as D, but I'm going to call this environmental. And then out here on my parent page, I'm just going to select do I have to unlock that? Oh, of course. All right. Now I just want to, all I want to do here now is change on this environmental. I'm going to change the text to say environmental, and I'm going to change the color of the bar to green. So I need to go back over to my layers panel and unlock my parent page content so that I can make my change. Select my gray bar, go to my swatches panel. Yeah.
Is it based on B parent or C parent?
The duplicate that I make?
Yes.
It's actually, it's when I duplicate, it's going to pick up all the properties of C parent.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything I already built there, I don't have to do again. It's going to, I mean, this new D parent will also be based on the my footer parent as well. So let's select that and just make it green. Ooh. Change my tint from 50 back to 100. Change overview to environmental. And I can, if I'm done, I can relock that parent page content layer. Back to my pages. And I'm just built, so I've got my overview and my environmental. Same process. I can create my other two parent pages. We're going to stick with these two for right now. I think we'll make the other ones when it's time to make them, when we need them. That way it's, I think, good to go back and refresh how we did this. So, but we've laid all the groundwork there. So we're kind of off into the races. Anything I need to redo there or show you. So let's go ahead and go back down into our regular page, our document pages. So my first spread is based off of overview. Let's go ahead and our next, like our next two spreads, let's base those off of our environmental. So all I need to do is click on a page, drag it, or a parent page, drag it down onto the page I want to apply it to. But I've got to do it to both the left and the right. And I'll do that also with pages 6 and pages 7. And while we're at it, our cover and our back really should be based on a page layout, so I'm just going to grab the none layout and drop on top of my cover. It'll still keep the guides, but all right. So as we go, we're creating a simple document. Let's go down here. I'm just gonna. There. So with my page numbering, if I zoom in here, kind of look, my left pages are even, my right pages are odd. If I sort of scroll down through here, they count up. All is right with the world. In case you're wondering why, I mean, the way we set these up is completely arbitrary, you know? I mean, not really arbitrary, but I'm kind of showing you a best practice, a way to be efficient with it. I mean, the way you set them up, though, is so long as you're setting up parent pages, that's the important part. The reason that I didn't just start off with my A parent, because, you know, it's already applied to all the pages, why wouldn't I just start there? A lot of times, especially within a longer format document, you'll have pages where you really don't need the footer information. I'll need a set of pages that are basically just blank. So that's what I'm using my A parent for. It's just pages with no parent information on them at all. Maybe I've got a center spread that's maybe I'll have a center spread that's a montage of different photos. I don't want to mess it up with footer content and page numbering. I've got a template that I can use that for without really messing with stuff. The goal with parent pages is to kind of build them out so we don't actually have to go in and modify them at all or detach any elements into the page, which keeps them nice and pure, so that if I need to make an edit to a parent page later on, it gets applied to everything in the document. When you start detaching elements, it kind of breaks that flow. So. All right. So far as, okay, so, I mean, we set a little line of type, added a page number to it, set up multiple pages with some parents. It's all good. Why don't we take a look at, a blue box is not what I want on this first page. I'm going to get rid of that to start with. If we refer back to our, let's do something with type. So if we refer back to our Word document that we've got, our Empirico doc. Oh, I could have put a logo too on that footer page. I never thought of it. Maybe we'll go back and do that. But anyway, with our Empirico doc, here is all of the copy for the first page or for the intro page of the document. So I'm just going to copy all of this. select it, copy it, just the text itself. And come back over here to my InDesign document. And this should be page 2. It's the inside of our cover, has the letter from the CEO on it. So if my menus are taking up too much space. I don't like this. All right. So I'm just going to go over here, grab my type tool, and I'm going to draw out a text document or a text area. And then that text I just copied, where the blinking cursor is, I'm just going to paste it all in there. So we should have that. I can also make some design decisions with this as well. First thing I need is, though, I need a title for this page, which I'm going to actually place within this text block. So this is going to be a letter from John. No, a letter from the CEO. Let's do that. That'll be our headline for the page. And now let's take a look at a text block. So we set up 3 columns of text here. We set up 3 columns as a grid, all right? Whether my text follows that format or not is kind of up to me. I mean, it's up to my design, you know? But I'm using the grid to help align stuff and to make sure things are organized well. So, let's take a look at a couple, before I get too deep into text. Let's take a look. When I draw out a text block, if I right-click on it, from the contextual menu, there's a text frame options, which is also Command B on my keyboard. Text frame options are nice because they give me a bunch of different ways I can kind of control the content that's inside of that. Not the typeface or anything. It's more about the area, formatting the area, than it is anything else. So, but one of the things I can do here is I can decide that I want this text box to be made up of 3 columns. If I had 3 columns, you see that my text wraps through all 3 of them. Pretty slick. So wraps through all 3 of them. We'll leave it that way. I'm going to let it run to 3 columns, I think. I was going to let it. When you put type into a page, especially a wide page like this, because we're doing a landscape document, the longer a line of type is, body text is, the harder it is for somebody to read, and actually the less desire they have to read it. I mean, I'm sure you've all picked up books where crammed full of 9-point type and just one row after another from top to bottom. It's much more daunting to read something like that than it is something broken up into columns. It doesn't seem like such an undertaking. So we're going to leave it in columns. This also kind of sets me up and allows me to do some other stuff, but I'm putting all of my text within. I've got my headline in here as well as my body copy. Again, something else that I can make a decision on. I could keep my headlines outside of my body text box. I could create a new text box to put my headlines in if I wanted to. Many people do. The difficulty with that is, especially in a long document, one of InDesign's strengths is that, no, it's like Microsoft Word, I guess, if you use that very much. You can actually create style sheets for headlines, for copy, and whatnot, and I can set the space after a headline to be a certain dimension so that across my entire document, my headline gap, the gap from my headline to my copy is exactly that amount, if I keep everything together. If I create my headline in a separate box outside of this, like if I were to pull this, well, I can't do it yet, but like if I were to pull this down, draw a new text box for my headline, a letter from the CEO. I could format that within this box, but it's up to me to make sure that my gaps, my margins between the headline and the body copy are always the same. It's a lot more work in a long document. It's very prone to error. So that's the other thing we're always kind of trying to do is to set things up in a way that make it less likely that I'll have objects out of alignment or spaced incorrectly and that kind of thing. So I'm not gonna, although you can do it, I'm not going to. I'm gonna leave my headline inside of that block. You can take a look at one other thing here. So I've got when I set up my margins, when I set my margins, I put a 1/2 inch around everything, but really I've added some header, I've added this footer at the bottom. So really my bottom margin is no longer the bottom margin for my text itself. Those are kind of my areas. It's just the evolution of my layout, the evolution of my design. I can still move these margins if I want to, which I'm going to do. I need to go back to a parent page to do that though. So I think this part I'm doing a little bit off the cuff, so I might get this wrong. We'll see. I want to go to my B parent since since that's my footer parent, and I'm going to modify my bottom margin. So if I select both these pages, select them both in the shift click and select each one of them in my parent page layout, go up to my layout menu, to margins and columns, I can change the size of my margins on the top and the bottom. In order to do that, it's got this little link here, and you'll see these links throughout all the Adobe apps. Basically, this link, if I change one dimension, it's going to change them all, which is not what I want. So I'm going to break the link, and if I just click on it, that breaks the link. And I'm going to go to my bottom margin, and let's just increase that a little bit. And I'm just kind of watching. I don't want my text to come too close to that footer information. So I did that for both pages. I changed that to 0.75. Let's change our top margin to, let's change it to 1 inch and see what we get. I think that's going to be a bit much maybe, but we'll see. Once I'm done, say OK. And let's come down into my, oh, yeah, it wasn't too much. It wasn't enough. But you see, my margin now has moved on all my pages. I did this on the parent page to make sure that it applies to all the pages in the document. And I applied it to the one parent page that's going to be consistent throughout the document. If I were to, I can make this kind of a change down here on an individual page as well, but it's only going to affect that page whenever I do it down here. So, your parent pages are your template pages. I don't really know why they didn't just call it that. That makes more sense to me, I think, than a parent page or anything else they've ever called it. So, but But all we're really kind of doing is just setting up guides to make it easy for us. Once we get into the heat of filling in 100 or so pages or whatever it is this ends up being, we've got some guides marked to make our job easy. It's also the kind of thing that, you know, in design studios and agencies, the kind of thing they kind of expect to see as well. It's organization, it's a clean document. So it's part of the professional aspect of what we're doing here, you know, looking as professional as we can. Regardless of whether we think we are or not, we at least want to look that way. So it looks like my top margin here could actually stand to be, what could it stand to be? 1.5 inches, probably. Actually, I'm thinking about 1.325. So I'm going to run back up here to my B parent, select both those parent pages, layout, margins of columns, and I'm going to change, oh, what did I do? Grab the wrong one? Hold on. That's not right. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. Jeez. Select my B parent. Margins and columns. 1.325. Say OK. Now when I come back down here, so that's pretty good. If I look through all my documents, all my pages, they've all got those margins set. So there, we've got margins set, nice and organized.
What was the size of the top margin? 1 point what?
I did 1.325. I probably could have been a little more precise than that, but it seemed to be about, it looks about right, so. What time is it? That's an hour. Let's see, we put some text in, our overview. Why don't we go ahead and, I think I don't want to get too deep into text today because that could take me another 1.5 hours. And I don't really want to do that. So let's go ahead though and add, let's go down here to our environmental spread, page 4. And let's go online. And I'm going to go to pexels.com. Unsplash is another nice one. Pexels seems to be the most trouble-free of late. Pexels.com. And I want to find a photo of mountains, let's say. Let's take a look. Lots of very nice photos of mountains. And I would say just pick one that you like. Pick a horizontal one. Don't pick a vertical one. Ooh, this is kind of wild. I want to click on that. Make sure that I've got the largest option. Yeah. And download it. And then I'm going to take a quick minute and run back over to my down and move this into my assets folder so that I've actually, In my InDesign book folder, I'm going to create a folder for photos. And I'm just going to drag that photo in there. And on my environmental spread, I'm going to place that photo. So if I grab a picture box, rectangle frame tool, I'm on page 4. I'm going to have this run, I'm just going to draw it out to from the bleeds to the gutter. Draw out that picture frame, and then go File, Place, Find Your Photo. And we'll just place it. It's much too large. So the easiest way to fix that is, again, to right-click on that image or control-click on it. Go down here to Fitting, which is about a third of the way down the contextual menu. Right there. And let's we can either fill the frame proportionally or do a content-aware fit. Content-aware fit, InDesign's AI layer will try to identify the most important part of the image and crop it appropriately. So I'm just going to fill it proportionally. There we go.
Wait, which fit is it?
What's that?
Which, under fitting, which one is it?
I did fit content proportionally. So if you want to, we could also do a smaller photo on this spread. Maybe make let's put a picture box there maybe. Go find a photo for it.
You show how to create that picture box again?
Yeah. So I just, from a toolbar, it's the rectangle frame tool. Click on that, then just click and drag as big as you want it to be. I'll go find another photo. Kind of digging this one. Download that file. Move it to my photos in my project folder, and then on this one, we'll place. So File Place or Command D on your keyboard. Grab it. Open. And then I'm just going to fit it, fill frame proportionally. Let's do one more thing and we'll call it quits. One more image placement thing. So remember I mentioned I didn't think of it, but we could have put a logo in our footer area. So why don't we go and do that? So I'm going to go back to my footer parent and open it up. Just sort of zoom in. And I'm going to place a logo like right down here in this corner of the right-hand page. So just like I did my other photos, I'm going to grab my text, grab an image box. We may need to make other adjustments after this, but we'll just do this. Oh no, I know where it goes naturally. Let's do this instead. Instead of putting it on the footer, let's put it in our header. That's a more logical place for it. I'm going to put it in the header right up here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to have my section title on the left-hand side, a logo on the right-hand side. So if I just draw a image box here, so I just drew it here in the corner. Let's go File, Place. My assets folder. So here's that Empirico logo. And don't get ahead of me here. So I'm going to select that logo, but I want to show import options because remember in this logo file, there's actually 3 logos. There's a reverse one, a color one, and a black and white one. So I'm going to turn on show import options, that checkbox right there, and say open, and I'll get this dialog box. So the first page, it says there's a total of 3 pages. I'm just going to thumb through here, 1, 2, to the 3rd page. Over here on the right-hand side, I want to keep a transparent background, so make sure that stays checked. And I'm going to crop it to the trim, which is the trim would be the artboard size. I could also just crop it to the artwork. Maybe I'll crop this one to the artwork. I think maybe that might be better in this case. Either way, I select the page 3, crop it to the artwork, transparent background, and we'll say OK. And it should have dropped it in there, but we still might have to do a fitting thing. So let's select that. Fill frame proportionally. And what did it not do? Oh, right. Cut that. I forgot. I got to be on the right layer. I was on my content layer, so I couldn't see it. So I got to go up to my parent layer, select that parent layer, and now I need to do that. All these layers. There we go. Place the Empirical logo pack, show import options. Let's just thumb through to page 3, the reversed one, crop it to the artwork, leave the background transparent, and say OK. Now I can right-click, fitting, fill frame proportionally. And I'm just going to kind of move it over into place. I think I want I should probably align with my margin, bump it over there. Let's bump it down a little bit. And now when I go back to my pages, I've got that Empirico logo on my page. Back to my layers, lock. Now I could just copy that and go into my environmental page and just paste it in place as well. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that real fast too. So if I open the, let's see, open this back up, unlock my layer. Copy it. Go to my environmental layer. If I right click, I can paste it in place, put it right where it belongs, and then lock my parent page contents. There. So now we've got our brand logo in the corner along with everything else. And that's as good a place to stop as any, to be entirely honest. You may have any questions or anything you need to see again? Okay. All right. Save this file. Save this document. Let's save it. This will be our InDesign practice file. Save it. I should have saved it before now, but I didn't. And we'll pick up on Thursday on this with type. Basic use of type. All right? Cool. So, I mean, you're welcome to work with InDesign a little bit if you want any of those kinds of things. Set up some parent pages, just get yourself comfortable with it. You can also work on your image translation assignment if you want. So, I think, so that assignment's due next Thursday, right, the 7th. Either this Thursday or maybe this Thursday. Next Tuesday, we'll go back to, we'll probably still, we're going to try to keep our fingers in InDesign, but I'm going to need to go back to Illustrator for a little bit for the next assignment, because all of our, even though InDesign takes more, I think, to learn, to make sure you set things up right. So we kind of work on it concurrently while we've got these Illustrator projects going on. So, but I also don't want to get too far ahead of us with InDesign. So I just thought it'd be a good break, change of programs for a little bit here. So, but the image translation assignment's due on Thursday. We will do a critique with that. Might do a progress check on Tuesday of next week. Might just be a one-on-one kind of a progress check maybe. But we'll see. But we'll continue with this on Thursday. So go ahead and you can work on your image translation assignment. If you happen to be one of those people that's just bowling through on it, then try different variations on it. I mean, use the time to make sure that you get the best project possible. This assignment isn't worth the regular 10 points that all the tracings are worth. This is worth a full 100 points. So, if you're zooming through it, take the time to try some different things and do some versions, all right? I kind of gave plenty of time on this first one. I think a solid week to finish this out is kind of a bit much. But I give you plenty of time on it either way. Because like I say, we'll mix it up with other things. So go ahead and work on that, and then if you got any questions, I'm happy to look at anything. I'll probably get up, walk around, kind of look, see what you're working on. So, but you know, you can either scan in or take a photo of your final drawing, place it, and use that as a sort of a drawing template. All right.